So the big question in many circles is, why haven't the Republicans impeached Biden yet? Well, the first thing we have to remember about the Republican Party is they have a tendency towards more of a law and order view of things. They tend to be more reasoned than our passionate compatriots on the left. And they have to be concerned about the press not being on their side. And of course, the Senate is split. But historically, we could just say, well, Republicans are being Republicans. Now, one possibility is that they are not taking this forward is because they don't have the votes yet. And one might wonder, well, how is that possible when the Republicans control the House? Well, you gotta remember is the Republicans are made up of factions. And one of our factions, of course, is our progressive wing of the Republican Party, often known as rhinos, sometimes known as country club Republicans. Now, the progressive Republicans have very different motivations than the rest of the factions of the Republican Party. They're much closer to the establishment than the other factions of the Republican Party. So they're very concerned about how the press portrays them and how they're viewed amongst those groups. Not to mention the fact that in many ways, some of them are actually part of the establishment. Now, another reason, and this is something you have to take in mind if you're going to be balanced. Maybe the case we're hearing against Biden is BS. Now, you might say, well, I've heard all the stuff and it sounds pretty damning. But consider how long, for the last, the 4 years of the Trump administration, how the Democrats were absolutely convinced that the walls were closing in on Trump and they had him dead to rights any second. And each time they came forward and tried to do something, it turned out to be nothing. Uh, Perhaps what sounds like a sure case to us because of the information we're being fed, maybe the case isn't as sure as it sounds. Maybe it's being hyped. Because if one side can be programmed and accept false information, it's fully reasonable that the other side can be too. We only know what's real until we don't know what's real until it actually plays out. Another possibility is they may be trying to build an ironclad case, um, because they don't have the indulgence of the press. They can't play around doing piddly impeachment runs. They're going to have to go all out, and they're going to have absolute clear evidence that a majority of Americans can understand, evidence that is so damning that even the press can't spin it. Now, another possibility to take in consideration is maybe the Republicans feel they are in a better position in terms of upcoming elections with Biden as president, or at least keeping him there as long as possible. Because if you take into consideration, like historically, the vice president would be the next one to step up. As long as Kamala is in her current position, she has no ability to become popular or believed as capable by the public. So keeping Biden in place keeps Kamala in her place. And another issue is that people like Newsom and other possible qualified Democrats, just because of the way uh, decorum does things, they can't really go out and do full-blown campaigning. They kind of have to do this play games around the edge. And so as long as Biden's in place, nobody can really rise to the top to take over the position. At least, not a credible challenger as far as our establishment considers things. Now, another thing to consider is that if going along with the same reasoning, the Democrats might actually benefit from impeachment. So let's say on some level they realize Biden has to go. Well, they can't be the ones to initiate it because uh, their base will never forgive them. However, if the Republicans launched a plausible case and the Democrats realize that, Biden is going to lose us the election, so the smarter thing to do would be to get rid of him. If they approach the impeachment as kind of like, okay, well, we got to do the best we can for our nation, and now we got to sit down and be adults, they could actually dramatically enhance how they're viewed by the public. They would be looked at as being bipartisan. They'd be looking at as being the bigger party. Um, Another thing, by impeaching Biden, it potentially legitimizes going after Trump because they could say, well, look, we allowed the process to play out and Biden was impeached. And clearly, Trump has done something wrong too. So the process playing out against him is just fair play. And then obviously, in the long run, getting Biden out of the way frees up preferred candidates to be able to campaign. So, in the comments below, do you think any of these points are legitimate? Do you think where the Democrats are thinking? Is this where the Republicans are thinking in terms of why they aren't moving forward? What do you think is the most likely reason why things aren't happening? Do you think there will be an impeachment at all? Please smash the like button. If the YouTube algorithm brought you here and you're not one of my regular subscribers, please check my other titles. Sure, you'll find something that you'll find interesting. Consider subscribing. And of course, if you know somebody who find this interesting, please share it with them. Thank you for spending time with me this evening. Hope to see you again in a future video.